So we choose to be the predominant creative force in our life. We do that through our conscious intention. So coming here today is part of the reflection process. So this is where we get to have this space to reflect on our week just gone, asking the questions of, what went really well, what were my challenges, what didn't I get done last week, how was my energy, where was my energy lacking, and what can I bring forward, what am I choosing to focus on for the week ahead as well. So what we like to do is our sweet and sour. So we'll go around and we'll share some of our wins, some of our wins from last week. It can be it can be a small win, it can be a big win, it can be whatever it is. But just short and sweet, our wins for the week, what we're celebrating. We want to celebrate your achievements, your progress, your momentum, the 1% of momentum that will propel you forward. And so it's celebrating every incremental, every weekly achievement in your energy, in your business, in your personal life, all of that. And then reflecting on what were some of your challenges as well. What did you face this week or last week that challenged you, that pushed you out of your comfort zone, that you faced, that a fear came up, or some shadows were present. So who would like to go first? So step into the circle, unmute, and just share.
I'm happy to go first.
Great.
And so some of my wins were definitely focusing on self-care, and I've been working on creating a structure for that as well, so that my self-care is non-negotiable and I just say, no, sorry, I can't, when I've planned that self-care. So that was a big win for me, because I put it into practice, and then I just immediately afterwards, I guess, and during, felt the benefits of that. And the downside for me was, I guess, before the necessity of the self-care, I was struggling with some pretty low mood and depression, and I really had to fight between this space of exhaustion and like choosing to like wallow and be in my bed, or really forcing myself to get out and do an activity that makes me feel better, and to like find that energy and that momentum to like create something and then go with it when I'm feeling so exhausted and depleted. So like I'm saying, oh, I need rest, but I also know that I don't want to drop lower. So finding that balance was pretty challenging. I try to keep it short and sweet, so that's it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Just reflecting on that, Natalie, the ebbs and flows, like how did you get yourself, what was that thing, that moment where you switched and got yourself out of that spiraling down?
I think it was kind of finding this compromise. So I was out, and my plan was to drive directly from Brisbane to the coast, and I was so tired. My body was just telling me, go home to bed, go home to bed, go home to bed. And so I lay in my car and I put an alarm for 30 minutes and had a power nap. And I knew that if I went home to bed, I probably would have like started crying and stayed there all weekend and not moved. And I've like that moment, I think, is from experience of going through these ebbs and flows before. I've become more aware and started to recognize when I'm in that kind of teetering place. And I guess I found this compromise by, instead of going home to bed, I think that space sends me down sometimes. It could be a place of rest, but it was the middle of the day. I had these great plans that I was looking forward to in the evening. And so I just made this compromise with myself. Okay, take a 30-minute nap if you feel well and rested enough to drive after that, you go. And if you really don't, then you go home. So I made this compromise with myself. I had a little rest. I was feeling better. And then I just went, okay, don't think about it, to just get like start, just drive. And yeah, once I was there, I was still feeling super low. And so I kind of worked with, okay, like what is my body telling me I need right now? And I like went and booked a massage and had another nap in the afternoon. And I was just kind of working with it as it came up, instead of like surrendering to a depression, basically. So and it's very, very hard, because I kind of go, oh, listen to your body. And when the depression is talking instead of just your body, there's a bit of a difference, I find. And if I listen too much to my body, then I drop really low. So I'm like working with trying to have as much awareness as possible, to like negotiate with that, those thoughts that I don't want to be having, and that I know is like just my head. And I think it's listening to my body, but it's my head telling me, don't do it, lie in a ball and be sad, and so I'm like negotiating with those thoughts that I am not choosing to have. I think the point was finding that space of negotiation, and not, it's so hard, because it's like this, listen to your body, and I don't want to listen to it too much, because I know that I'm like, oh yeah, listen to my body, then I'm end up in bed all weekend, and it's not good for me.
Yeah.
So finding that middle ground.
It's an overpowering, it takes over your entire physiology.
And when I'm feeling well and healthy, and I don't, my brain is not in this, I guess, space of depression that I don't want to be in. I can listen to my body, and my body's telling me that I need rest, so I rest, but I'm starting to learn that it's more of a brain chemistry thing than just my body telling me that I'm tired. So I'm learning to negotiate with it, and figure out what works. And it
worked. You've got, your inner self-awareness is quite high, it's quite strong. So and you've built that over time as well. So really proud of you.
Thanks. Oh, also big plus was meeting you in person. And before, you were just like this super conscious superhero, and that only existed on the screen, but you're real.
That was really nice. It was really nice to give you a big long hug. I hope you had a nice night dancing. Amazing. And who's next? Who would like to share? Thanks, Natalie.
Yeah, I'll go, Amber. Probably some of the wins through the week, just due to the nature of my sales. So I got some verbal sales, so it's another $250,000, which is good. But I deal with multiple product managers and suppliers, so I deal with multiple types of personalities. So it means I need to manage up. So I need to pass on my customers' expectations to my product manager, make sure it's passed on to the international suppliers. So it's a ever evolving game through the week on what deal am I dealing with, and who am I dealing with, and how do I deal with the personality, and how do I convey the message? Because some people you can be firm with, others you need to be more subtle with, and give them the message in a a kinder way. Others you can just say, this is the customer's expectations, this is what needs to be done, just get it done. So that's the joy of my week every week, is I deal with multiple people, multiple personalities, and it's almost as though I've got to do one thing, put it in a box, put it away, change how I deal with, move one box, put it away, and then it bounces, because I do 20 odd agencies. So it's my whole week is dealing with people, and it's more my relationship building that gets things done rather than the technical knowledge, because you've got people backing up. So, and that's where I now consider it and bring things like we've discussed, bring it into the present, needs to be done now, and convey that message, and then just put it aside. Don't leave it in the brain, just put it aside and move on. So that was good. On the personal note, I'm more regular on my journaling, like we spoke about last week. And then I had Blaine on the weekend, and a slightly sour note, we had the scout camp was cancelled due to the weather and the rain and that, but it meant that Blaine and I just had a chill weekend. We just played Lego, watched some TV, because he loves his four-wheel driving and that. And Lego games. His birthday's next month, so we went and did some "What do you want, mate?" So I put the list together. So he showed me what he wants, and I put the list together. So it was good just to have quiet time with him. So because he's pretty full on, like his dad. So for us to actually just sit and chill and not do a lot was good, because it's more of a connection time, and just have a little chat to him. How's things going? What are you looking forward to? So so there wasn't too much on the sour side. I am progressing the business plans for the other opportunities that I'm developing. So that's slowly building, and which will I'll launch them sometime this year. So that's good. That's pretty well me.
Awesome.
Okay, I'll go.
Nikki.
Is this a sweet and sour or just a sweet?
Sweet and sour, yeah.
Oh yeah, sweet and sour. Well, I completed all my conference presentation stuff, presented. I spent all weekend designing these slides, and I designed a logo. I designed what I was going to offer next, designed it all so it was all visual, what it was going to look like without all the detail. I thought, this is what I'm going to do, and then I'll just do it. Well, I think I was the only person out of a lot of presenters who had all the IT trouble, and the clicker in the room next door was operating my clicker. Like, who's ever, I've trained for years and years, never ever have I had someone else's clicker operate mine in a different room. So, and where I'd put the logo so that the name was on every single slide in the same place had this weird camera box over it, and even the IT guy that works there full time says, I have never seen this. I'm like, me neither. It was on the PowerPoint, never seen it before. I had to ditch the slides 2 slides in and just be me. So all of that work on the visual stuff, and it meant that it just meant that some of the things that I was talking about didn't have the visual representation, so I didn't show the bigger picture because I only had like 20 minutes, so I was using examples but was showing the bigger kind of concept, and I couldn't show the offer, so that was really interesting. But I had quite a few people over those 2 days say to me, I don't know if they remembered anything I talked about. They remembered, they were like, so amazing how you just kept going, you didn't, and people say, if that happened to me, I would just not be able to continue. And it didn't kind of faze me like that. I'm like, we're ditching that. And I just spoke. But it was kind of like a sweet and a sour in a way, because it was a little bit deflating. But yeah, it's done. I did it. The networking wasn't as strong as what I thought. It just had a different vibe, the conference, to the last one. But I have got couple of good connections, and yeah, it's done. And now it's like, now what? What's my next thing? So yeah, my sour is I'm still all over the place in my focus. I'm trying to be focused, and as soon as I start to write it and visual, create it, it opens up a whole new thinking, and it's really hard to just, yeah, that's why. It's really hard dealing with my head. Yeah. And just the ideas, and yeah, they just, one idea creates another idea, which creates another idea, which creates another idea, and it's kind of problematic. And then I just end up feeling like I'm just going too big and not really talking to anybody specifically enough. But I am, and working through that, I'm thinking I work full time because I kind of switch between these two particular ideas that are multi-dimensional. But I work full time in one of those ideas. I can get a job anywhere in that field. So I'm thinking I'm leaning towards building the other idea on the side. It's like a whole new career, which is something I think I've been fighting against, because it's like, but this is what I know, this is what I'm good at, and this is what I can do anywhere in the world if I, wanted to. But this idea is a whole new kind of stepping into a whole new area. But if I listen to my heart, it's what I really want to do as well. So that's me and my head this week.
Well done on presenting how, and post presentation and noticing what fears came up beforehand. How does it feel now that you've actually done it? And
yeah,
done it in with like all of those hiccups.
Yeah, it's a little bit, I think, what I created and the ideas in my mind and what I wanted it to be like isn't that. But but I don't know, it's an interesting feel because I've spoken at lots of conferences, and this one's just had something different. And because everything was covered up and then I couldn't use anything, I then start to question myself, well, is this the universe giving me a message? And over kind of analyze it, and really it's just some IT glitches. But yeah, I did it. And at the end of the day, I knew what I was talking about, and I know the subject, and I didn't need the visuals to be able to do that. I don't know. It feels okay. And I'm a little bit flat over it. I'm not exactly sure why, to be honest. It's just this flatness.
Is it something that it's your side project, right?
Yeah, it's connected to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And where is it in terms of your priority list? What priority on this?
Yeah, that's a good question. What I spoke on is something I want to create more of. I've taken it out of the child protection context, and I've started to talk about it in a totally new context. And it is something I do want to continue to develop. So it's up there with priorities. I suppose it's who my target group really is. Who am I trying to sell to or offer information to or connect with? think maybe that's where I'm lost. I'm not getting focused on who are my people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like a reflection on your ability to speak in front of a room of people, without the visuals and in that kind of environment with all the challenges. Just reflecting on that piece of, what is, in terms of the universe sending me messages and, creating your own reality. Well, you've created this, this environment, this challenge, to show you your ability to still hold it together and go with the flow, right? That's a big win. Even when the shit hits the fan, you can still deliver, right? And I know you've done a lot of speaking gigs in the last few months, so you can still kind of hold it together.
Yes, and it actually didn't phase me. It was afterwards that it was just a bit flat because I knew I could have given them more. It's like it could have been better, but in the moment it didn't phase me. I didn't feel embarrassed. I didn't feel like I don't know what to do. Just made a decision. Let's ditch the slides. Is everyone okay with that? And everyone was okay. So I didn't feel phased in the moment. But thank you. I think that's something good for me to think about is that, my ability to be able to hold that.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happened around me.
So now you've got a whole bunch of information for you to take into your next speaking gig, right? You've got that whole experience now gives you information that you can draw upon and pull upon and learn from, right? That you can take into your next speaking gig.
Yes, which is hopefully in June.
Perfect.
I put in an abstract at the International Mental Health Conference, so fingers crossed.
Amazing. So allowing yourself to reflect on that piece, but also being able to let it go and not take your energy in terms of, taking it for too long. Reflect on it, feel what you need to, journal on it, write it down, do what you need to do to process that experience. But then, be okay with it wasn't perfect. And use the information, okay, for my next speaking, right? And that will allow, and then kind of move on and go, right, that's done. Let's focus on the next. I've got the information I needed from that experience. And let's, how can I take that information and bring it into my identity moving forward? How can I, so what beliefs and emotions are you going to embody and still stand with moving into your next speaking gig?
Thank you. That's really helpful. I feel a little bit, a lot less flat right now.
Right.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I love you in purple, by the way.
What's that? Sorry?
I love you in purple, by the way. It's a great
color. Thank you.
I was thinking the same thing.
I've had a hair drama. I had a blonde balayage in November after waiting 2 years to put blondes back in. Totally ruined my hair. Now I'm brown again. Not that there's anything wrong with brown hair, but I was used to being lighter.
Wow, it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Nikki. Kimberly, would you like to share?
Cool. Hey, darling. Good morning, everyone. So good to see you all. Feels like a little while since I've seen you all. Sweet wins. I'm officially, as of yesterday started moving into a bigger room. So I finally have an actual bedroom with a wardrobe. So that started yesterday. I have an amazing new housemate who also started moving in yesterday. So there's lots of movement in the house at the moment. Yeah, I reached out to my provider of the niece program and also the Set 4 in New Start Biz to try and get potentially an extension or just see what kind of support's available to catch up on 9 months worth of all the things. And they gave me an extension for a couple of months, so that feels good. It's definitely a win. And caught up with my family last week as well, and it was really beautiful to catch up with mum, my brother, and my granddad. They've all been having both mental and physical big stuff going on, operations and things like that. So they all had great news. So that felt really, felt really good. And it's my they were like, oh, for your birthday, we were thinking initially we'd like pay for something special, like take you somewhere or lunch or pampering or a present. And they're like, actually, realistically, you need to, some financial support. I'm like, yeah, that's yep, definitely true. There's other things are great, but the financial support feels good. So instead they're helping me catch up on some debt and things like that. So that kind of reduces that underlying constant background thought of gotta get that and then move forward. So anyway, that feels like a whole bunch of wins at the moment. Just good news just keeps coming with each new day. Challenges, interestingly enough, even with all the good news coming through, I've been noticing huge waves of anxiety, self-criticism, insecurity, just like spiraling thoughts, which it's been interesting, like processing it and just allowing it to, rather than resisting it and then it just keeps persisting. Trying different things to allow it to dissolve and just be felt and move through and just trying to but noticing that it's been that intense that I'm almost like noticing if I connect with someone or start chatting, it's like it all comes up there and it just wants to be right there. I'm like, right, just breathe one. I'm like, just chill. But I don't know, that's been a big challenge at the moment. Particularly triggered seeing another lover connecting with another dear girlfriend. So it was like this pattern that keeps coming up of ex-partners. Turns out they're actually seeing a dear girlfriend of mine, so new different chick each time. So it's like whatever that is just keeps triggering and coming up. So that's been quite challenging to move through. And then with that, trying to be fully present in the current moment, listening to the current moment and conversations and remembering to breathe. So that's been a big one at the moment. That's me. Thanks, darling, for this space to share these things. I even noticed all the excuses to not come in and not even do this, and then I was like, nope, just put bun hair up just quickly, just throw on something that's not even my clothes, but just jump on, everything's fine.
Well done. So that's a win for you today, is just to like showing up for yourself. And that shows you that you really want this, you really want your higher self is telling you to show up for you because you deserve so much more, right? I know you have, you know, your practices and your daily practices and your spiritual connection, and doing the best that you can. And just want to remind you how important it is to seek that gratitude for our current reality and where we are, and you know what we've achieved so far, and what shows up for us, you know, having a home to live in and friends to be with, connect with, and support, get an extension, and you know, even just the air that we breathe, and just finding that those little pieces of gratitude throughout your day that will ground you and bring you back to that present moment. So important to have that part of your daily practice of gratitude. You know, I usually do a gratitude piece before bed, or while I'm in bed before I go to sleep, and really just feel into really feeling present with what is my current reality. And then in the morning is when I connect into my future, is when I connect into my choices. So really having that, have you got a choices list? Have you got a goals, priorities that you can connect into, of the person that you are choosing to be, the person that the identity that you're moving towards? Important to connect into your choices, read them over. You know, even if it's, I choose the end result of being a kind human. You know, with every choice that you make, with every connection that you have, conversation that you have, choosing to come from, you know, to be kind, to be loving. That's just one example that's present for me at the moment, as well. And just choosing, having these, you know, you don't have to have these grandiose, you know, big goals and things, but they can just be small and so personal, but moving you into the woman that the human and the person that you're choosing to become, and choosing to have that now. And I know when you're in financial survival, it's really hard to get to that place of you know, that fire, that it's here in the throat, that anxiety of feeling just keeping your head above water. I've been there, and being on the other side of that, where you've got financial, you know, you're the finances coming in and that stability, it is a completely different way you look at the world. And getting yourself like where you are now, I really feel for you, because I know I've been there and I know how hard it is. But the fact that you've shown up today and you're sharing so vulnerably is testament to your higher self is so powerful, and it really does, it is moving you out of that. It is introducing you to different concepts, different people and communities that will bring you out of, and building yourself that will bring you out of that. And part of that is trusting that what is meant for you will be yours. Trusting that what you choose to create, what you write down as your choices and who you choose to be, connecting in with that every single day and finding small ways that you can fulfill that now, right? So if there's a choice about, you know, just for example, being a kind human, how can you be kind right now, today? You know, how can you feel abundant, financially abundant today? how can you, you know, even if it's just opening the fridge and finding some food and just going, oh my God, like I can just go to the fridge and get food out and it's amazing. And or look at your clothes cupboards, the fact that you can move your clothes into your room, and you know, you've got a big cupboard of clothes or furniture, or just like having a pillow and just hugging your pillow and just going, I feel so abundant. You know, whatever it is, walking outside and seeing that I'm sure you've got an incredible backyard or property there. Just finding small ways in which you can actually feel that abundance in your life right now. You know, look at all of the things that you have in material things and possessions, things like that in your house as well, and then just going, oh, you know, like that's wealth, that's abundance in that sense. And just finding that gratitude of like acceptance of, this is where I am now, but it's temporary. I get to enjoy what I have now, and I get to choose, I get to step into my divine, my higher self, what my heart is calling, but having clarity on what that is without attachment to how it needs to show up. So with your choices, it really is around what would you love to create, but not with any attachment of how it has to show up, right? So letting go of, it has to come in this way. And you know, for example, with your birthday, you know, accepting that financial support as opposed to you know, an experience or something else, is, you know, just another way that it can come to you with it unexpectedly. So really allow yourself to feel that gratitude of what you have present in your life now, and look at your network. Look at the people in your network that's around you, letting go of the people that obviously, you know, that are giving you, that aren't on your side, or giving you grief, that aren't fulfilling, and look at ways and how you can expand your network, because your network is your net worth. And a bit of a segue into sharing a bit of my week was the biggest wins last week just gone for me is expanding my network. I went to the International Women's Day Brisbane Business Hub event. I thought I booked in, but I wasn't, so I got on the wait list, but they let me in anyway, luckily. They had a beautiful panel of women in business, and it just being there in the room with probably about 100 people, or maybe 50, wasn't that big, and listening to these entrepreneurial women, successful women speak, it just reminded me how much I need to get out of my house and get out of my usual routine, and put myself in and surround myself in the environment that's going to help me thrive, right? Yep. So the environment of successful women that or people that are on the same journey as me. And one of my choices is to ask, or where I'm part of my identity that I'm embodying is to ask better questions, and is to really be present. So when you have to ask better questions, you've got to be present, because you've got to listen, right? So listen, ask better questions, and speak up. So I really took this opportunity to embody that, and took when the questions were asked, I was the first one with my hand up, and stood up, spoke up, asked my question. And afterwards, actually, I had quite a few people come up to me and compliment me on, you know, thank you for asking that question. It was such a good question. I was thinking the same. Blah, blah. And then that created a contact for another business opportunity that is happening this week that I'm brainstorming. So getting yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think network is so important, right? You also, like, on the back of network, you also have to be a little bit prepared of what you want. What do you actually want? So when you come into a situation where you're in a environment like for Nick, like with Nikki example with the networking, you know, really and very similar. I'm, you know, a woman of all things. I've got so many projects on the go, so many identities. I'm a roller skater girl. I'm a coach. You know, I'm getting into this other property thing at the moment, and I've got the wellness patches, and I've got all of these things. It's like, how do I introduce myself?
Yeah.
So it's about reading the room, setting your intention, and understanding who is in the room and how you get best going to serve them, and weaving the conversation of all your things without overwhelming someone.
Yeah.
And I also had a lunch, brewer's lunch on Friday, and I didn't realize it was like, I forgot it actually was on, and I didn't realize it was so much. It was like drinking and lunch and, you know, boozy corporate environment, and I wasn't I did not feel like drinking. I didn't feel like you know, immersing myself with like a corporate boys club. But you know what, I knew the opportunity of networking, just getting myself out there was the most important thing, right? So I jumped in there. I went in there, and there were a few women in the room, and I was able to, you know, do all the things and be all the things and have all of the different identities at present, depending on who I was talking to, right? Depending on, you know, if I was talking to an investor, or, you know, someone that has a lot of contacts, yeah, I would weave in, I start with the role of A and the business and the, you know, this is what we're going on, and then the wellness, and, you know, ask questions about their team and their, you know, building a business, and, you know, as it goes on. But you know, there are so many different ways that you can bring your unique personality and all parts of you to the table. Like, you know, I recently going through this big thing about, there's so many different parts of me that so I'm writing a program at the moment, and it's this element right now is all about the different parts of you that can coexist, right? So we've got our shadow side, our fears, the parts of us that hold us back, that don't, you know, that keep us in the dark. And then we've got different parts of us. You've got, like, for me, I've got the party girl. I love a drink, and I love to dance, and I love to have fun and be silly. And I also love spiritual practices and being clean and working out and fitness and health. And for me, they can coexist. It's a dance. And it's about, you know, understanding what will work for you in moderation, and actually, you know, even if I'm immersing myself in people that don't drink or don't eat meat or don't party or don't, you know, whatever it is, I can still be me. I don't have to dull down who I am. And it's only really in the last few years I've been able to do that and really, like, be okay with who I am and all facets of myself, and being able to be confident to step into a room of corporate men and still hold my power and hold my space and not feel intimidated by someone who earns $1 million and someone who's just starting off, and where I see myself, like understanding that you can't please everyone. You're not going to resonate with everyone. You're not gonna, it really is you're of service at the level that you feel that you're at, and there's nearly 8 billion people in the world. Yeah, there are going to be some people that probably know more than you, and there are going to be people that don't know as much as you in your zone of genius, in your area, right? So if you can find, I don't know where I'm going with this, I'm just going on a tangent, I'm just kind of speaking.
Great, good.
If you can find your zone of genius where you know just a little bit more than someone else, and I think I'm speaking to you, Nikki, as well, around who your client is, and there's always going to be, I guess it's the imposter syndrome of not knowing enough, or not being the expert in the room, or not being the most successful person in the room. It's like you bring you into the room, you bring your experience, your uniqueness, your perspective, your way of seeing the world, and that in itself is valuable for you to, that's so unique, right? And it's not going to be in alignment with everyone, so you've got to let that go. You've got to be okay with not pleasing everyone, be okay with not, what you've got to offer isn't for everyone, right? It's not needed for everyone. Not everyone needs what you have to give, right?
Yeah.
Or they're not ready to hear it, right, Nikki? They're not ready to hear it in the room. They're not ready. Like, so being okay with, like, there is someone that needs what I have, that needs to hear what I have to say. There are so many people. It's not just one. It's out of the 8 billion, there's a group here, there's a group here, there's a group here, and there are people out there in so many different, untapped markets that need what you have, that need your service, that want to hear you, right? So remembering that what you give is incorporated, it's all of your parts of you, your personality, your identity, all that create who you are and your offer and what you give. And really finding peace with who you are and where you're at right now, and knowing that it's always, it's temporary. It's not the be all and end all. Like, where I was a year ago compared to now is completely different. It doesn't take even just a few months. Things can change rapidly. And so it's really trusting. It's coming back to that self-trust of, even though shit has hit the fan, even though the depression is there and it's hitting, and I've got all of this stuff going on in my life, even though I've got this financial struggle, even though I'm managing a million, different relationships and personalities, and even though, like, there's so much that's filling my life and taking my energy, I still get to be me. And there is only one you, right? You still get to share your uniqueness and your light to the world, And there are people out there that will resonate with that. Even though, you know, all this stuff's happening, I've still got my back, because I trust and know that what is meant for me will be mine. You know, and it's really knowing yourself, knowing all of those parts of you, knowing your shadow, knowing your genius, knowing what's in your heart, knowing what you're capable of, and truly trusting yourself, and being okay with the shit times as well as the highs, right? Knowing yourself, just like Natalie, you know, she knows herself enough to create some structures in her day to recognize, catching those moments of, okay, it's, you know, I've got to compromise now, otherwise I know myself and I'm going to go down that path. So she's building herself up to the point where, you know, like, she knows that when she's in that upward spiral, that, you know, in her genius, in her when she's, you know, not in that depression, but she's in that her power, that she doesn't need those structures as much, and she can trust herself because she's actually got, you know, she's in that power. And so because she's creating the structures so that she can bring her power back and operate from that genius, that self-empowered place. But sometimes we need to give ourselves those structures, those barriers. You know, if you know that you're not good with chocolate, and you will just eat all the chocolate, then, you know, if you buy it and it's in the house, it's going to be gone. Like, I know that. So when you get to the shop, I think I've mentioned this before, it's that moment of like, oh, just don't buy the chocolate, because, you know, you're setting that structure up. And know yourself, know your weaknesses as well as your strengths, and put in practice those barriers and those structures to recognize and catch when you are gonna, oh, that's a weakness. I know I need a bit of support and help in this way, and so I'm going to set an alarm, or I'm going to put this structure in place, and you know, or not buy the thing. To support you where you know you fall short. It's about knowing yourself. Before we go, a little thing that just came up was like, create little create like physical reminders. Like when you walk through a door, it's like a trigger, right? Create physical triggers for yourself that will remind you to be your best self. So if it's like confidence that you want, or self-love, or, you know, to be kind, or to remember, you know, to remind yourself to smile, or to whatever it is, you know, using physical cues, like, you know, every time you hear a car door close, say to yourself, you know, I choose to love and accept myself. You know, using a cue, a physical cue, to remind yourself of your, you know, a state of being, a particular parent with a certain state of being or an identity, because we need reminders, because it's so easy for us, our unconscious, to go back into autopilot, and we just have the same thoughts and the same routine, and we're just literally like majority of our day is on autopilot. It's just the same thing, thoughts over and over and over again, right? So we've got to create some new cues to remind us to, you know, to love ourselves, or to be know that you're unique and lovable, and to smile, or just to giggle or laugh. You know, every time a door you hear a door slam, laugh, giggle, you know, something silly. But think about, you know, the areas in your life that you're moving into that you find really difficult to step into and live. And maybe it's that, you know, feeling financial abundance. Every time you walk through a door, you're stepping into a next level of abundance. You know, you're physically using your physiology, your somatics to move yourself with those little cues and reminders. Using your environment to support you. So after that little tangent, don't know how that but yeah, thank you so much for joining and showing up for yourselves on this Monday morning. Remember to read your choices every single day, connect into your choices, feel it now, find ways to be it now. Be, do, and have. You can have it all. So much love.
Thank you, Amber. Your tangent was exactly what I needed to hear. I felt like you spoke me. Yeah, just in terms of where I'm at, how I'm thinking, what I want to do, the whole new business concept, is just everything. So I'm one of those people that needs to hear what you have to say.
Me too. That was brilliant. Amber's on fire. That was great. So much.
Thanks, ladies. Amazing.
Thank you.
So
Have an
good.
amazing
Thank
day,
you for
everybody.
listening.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Have a great week. Have an amazing week.
Bye all.
Bye.